Hey guys, Nintendrew here. Recently I've been intrigued by a very specific set of Super Nintendo games. When you think of the very first 3D games from Nintendo, chances are your mind goes straight to the 64, with games like Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, and Star Fox 64. Of course, however, in the case of Star Fox, we know that the series actually got its start in the previous generation on SNES. Launching midway through the console's lifespan, the original Star Fox made use of the custom Super FX graphics chip, which among other things gave certain games the ability to render real polygonal 3D graphics. I've always been interested in games which really push the limits of their hardware, so today I'll show you 5 of the most impressive Super Nintendo titles that took advantage of this tech. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First up is Star Fox 2. If you haven't heard of this one, don't feel bad. Technically, the game was never released to the public, but according to the developers, Star Fox 2 was 100% complete when it was unfortunately cancelled in 1995. In an interview with Kotaku, programmer Dylan Cuthbert said, "The thinking was that if Nintendo released another 3D game on the Super Nintendo, then it would be compared with the PlayStation 1, and the quality was completely different. The cancellation was disappointing, but I could understand the reasoning. Although the game was canned before release, a ROM image compiled from the latest known source code was leaked to the internet, and as such, the game is fully playable today through emulators or reproduction cartridges." Even this early in the Star Fox series, Nintendo was experimenting with new ways to play. Unlike the original Star Fox, which saw Fox McCloud and crew battling their way through mostly linear mission paths, the sequel gave players direct control over the crew's movement through the Lilat system, with the objective of destroying all enemy forces while defending Corneria. This strategy-focused gameplay would eventually find its way to the main series more than 10 years later in the form of Star Fox Command for Nintendo DS. Next up is Stunt Race FX. Designed by Shigeru Miyamoto and developed by the same internal team behind Super Mario Kart, Stunt Race FX featured fully realized 3D courses with varying terrains and relatively detailed environments, including hills, dips, and bridges. This level of complexity wouldn't be seen again in a first-party racing game until Mario Kart on Nintendo 64, and many features seen in Stunt Race FX are present in future Mario Kart entries, leading some gamers to conclude that the game may have been a sort of testbed for the Mario Kart series. One thing is for sure, the game certainly impressed consumers with its hardware-pushing visuals when it hit store shelves in 1994. I'd also like to mention as a quick aside, another Super FX racing game, Dirt Trax FX, was published by Acclaim 1 year later, and features similar gameplay with motorbikes in the vein of games like Excite Bike. Alright, number 3 is Vortex. Vortex is a 3D shooter released in 1994 and developed by Argonaut Software, the team behind the Super FX chip itself, who also had a hand in the original Star Fox game. Some similarities are apparent between this game and its predecessor, but Vortex's biggest standout feature is its transforming mech protagonist, the Morphing Battle System. For many years, fans had speculated that this game may have been the result of an unreleased Argonaut prototype based on the Transformers Generation 2 television series. However, programmer Michael Powell confirmed in a recent interview with Retro Gamer that Vortex and the unreleased Transformers game were 2 distinct projects. This game is still pretty cheap, and it's an interesting piece of Super Nintendo history, so I would definitely recommend checking it out if you get the chance. Next up, of course, I have to include Doom. Now, if you're an avid YouTube watcher, you may be familiar with the Game Theorist's 2016 video on why Doom is not truly a 3D game. An excellent watch, by the way, but for the sake of this video, I felt it was appropriate to mention. Of course, at this point, Doom had been ported to basically every game system known to man, and the Super Nintendo was no exception. Although this version of Doom wasn't very well received, with many reviewers citing poor controls and graphics compared to the PC version, it definitely stood out as one of the more impressive feats for the aging hardware when it was published in 1995. Finally, the last game on today's list is Winter Gold. At first glance, this may look like an early PS1 or Nintendo 64 game, but it is in fact a late release for the Super Nintendo. A clever combination of detailed backdrops and varied terrains, along with some clever camera tricks, afforded this title some very impressive visuals. The game was launched exclusively in Europe well into the Super Nintendo's lifespan in the winter of 1996, which contributed to its quite limited fanfare and relative obscurity. However, the title really pushes the limits of the SNES and stands as one of the most graphically impressive experiences on the platform. Okay guys, that's about it. If you watched this far, I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing to Nintendrew for all sorts of cool gaming content, and let me know in the comments if you've played any of these titles or if you have your own cool Super Nintendo favorites, and I'll be sure to respond to as many comments as I can. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share the video with any friends who might find it interesting, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, here are a couple more videos you might like as well. I also want to let you know I've launched a Patreon page. If you enjoy my content and would like to get early access to my videos, as well as some other exclusive rewards, feel free to head over there and check it out. See you next time!